Good morning, everyone. This here is Tracilyn, also known as VCAT, and I am here in Huber Heights, Ohio, the great Midwest, and I am at the second house that I lived in since coming to Dayton, Ohio. Just looking to see, here it is. I just want to show you quick. They got a new fence up. And let's see. This was the backyard, of course, to the house. Let's see if I can look up over a little bit. That was my last bedroom. There's my window that I used to sit at and stare at, looking at all the trees. Not knowing what I could do with myself. Check out the moon. Can you see it? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to show some video footage right now. This is a side that I used to come out and pray to God way up there. Because that's the way I've been taught since childhood, is God is way up there. I never knew that God was inside my head and inside your head. We had some pretty pathetic teachers in our walk of life, didn't we? But now, people of intelligence that have done extensive research, trial and error, are coming out to tell you where God is. It's in your head, it's in your head. This is Huber Heights here. And of course, right here on the corner, as I walk by here, I'm just going to show you around the neighborhood quick. I don't want to keep the camera on anyone too long. Over here's a church that used to be right across, that is right across from the house that I used to live in. I never attended it. I wanted to at one time, but I did hear a story or two, so it kind of kept me out. I figured I couldn't mentally handle any more of it. Huber Heights Church of God. And I'll fill you in a little bit on what it is that I heard as I'm walking around the neighborhood. Okay. I'm going to be sharing some more of this life story once I get situated at like a playground or something like that, where I feel a little bit more comfortable to speak instead of walking on the street, so I can get lost in my conversation, and preferably not get run over by oncoming vehicles. So check this out. I just wanted to point base, and I'll be talking about this end. See that tree over there? And right over here, I want you to pay attention to, or try to remember that in the video, because that's where a bolt of lightning had struck the one day. I was laying in my bedroom out front here. Originally, when I first came here, it was just before Christmas or just after Christmas. I did not want to originally move here, so it was really hard on me. Right here's the side of the house. That's where I shot Washing Me Clean video. There it is. Right here's the spot I was standing when I got my little blue Cadillac from Walmart and took pictures of. This is the yard that I used to mow. It's nice to see the house lights on. And up there, up top, that is where my first bedroom was. And this is the driveway. And we're trying to get a little bit of the backyard. Notice I am standing on the street with my camera. Alright, so you also see in this video a house that's up here beside it, and then the house that's beside it, and that's the neighborhood. So you have a little bit of a peek of the house that I used to live in when we go somewhere that I can actually talk a little bit, so I'm not too much of a nuisance for the neighbors. Also wanted to point one more thing out. At one point, when I was out here and I was talking to God, in the one tree back here, way up top, right there, that one. I don't want to walk on the property to look at it. Way up top there is a really big bird's nest. It was the biggest bird's nest I ever did see. I remember when it felt like God was communicating with me that this was my home, meaning Dayton, Ohio was my home. And I remember how that impacted me pretty hard because I didn't want to live here. So remember that. This here is exactly where I came. Now, hold on. Remember, I had mentioned about coming here. Daddy actually drove us down this road to show me the new house, potentially. It was not 100% certain at the time. And there was, see where that window is? There was Christmas lights around the window. So I was standing approximately, I was inside the car, right about here. At this spot, when I seen the house. Okay, now we're gonna go onward to a park and hang out and talk. Okay? Bye-bye. Yada-dee-da-da, yada-dee. Yada-dee-da-da-da, da-da-dee. How you doing? Okay, we are at the park where I made the video, or recorded the video, for Good Day. Does this look familiar on my music page? Isn't it beautiful here? It's an absolutely gorgeous day. And for anybody who likes to sunbathe, it would be a beautiful place to come. Shh, that's quiet. And you could lay out a beach blanket or a towel. And if you have that intimate somebody else, they could rub some lotion on your back. Maybe on your butt. On your butt. Because you don't want to get burned. Always wear lotion. I have sunblock on right now. So I might be whispering a little bit because it is very quiet here and I love peaceful environments. But I'm sure as the afternoon sets in, it's going to start getting pretty busy. There's a lot of cookouts here and people walking around, biking, fishing, for anybody who likes to fish. Look at this. You like those decks? I'd love to live close to a waterway similar like this that has a lot to offer, that you could actually go jet skiing. I used to go jet skiing with my sister's husband, who used to have a Sea-Doo. You know what a Sea-Doo is? It's one of the better brand names of jet ski. And anyway, me, my sister, and him, and a few other people used to go, and sometimes we'd hook up a rope with a tube on it and then kind of go behind. Or you could jet ski with it. I mean, literally ski. Now, if it starts to be kind of noisy here, it sounds like they're doing leaf blowing. I'm gonna have to find somewhere else to go. I don't know where to go. It's kind of confusing for me ever since I came out here to Ohio, because actually this is not what I wanted to do with my life. I originally, okay, number one, I wanted to fully transition. I never got to fully transition because of money. And because I'm very selective, I don't want just anybody giving me my surgery. Someone very special, who's very artistic. I need to find out things like where the technology is at now for the surgery procedure. And of course, I only want the very best if that's what I proceed to move forth with. I know where it's going in the future, and I'm looking forward to it. And it might be in my lifetime, it might not be until after my lifetime. So, anyway, there's with that. I came out here in Dayton, Ohio in 2009 because our government failed to have a program available for me immediately that I could A, either get into a homeless shelter because supposedly they were all full, or B, stay in the hospital. Can't do that, insurance won't cover it. Or C, you get a temporary voucher that you can just go down the road and get a hotel, that way your ass doesn't end up on the street, where, by the way, the cops will come and arrest you. Do you know anybody that experienced that? If you didn't, then maybe you ought to go be homeless for a little while. Even if you're extremely rich or come from a rich family, go be homeless and see what really happens to people when they're on the street. You'd be very surprised. Thank goodness I got off the street, but I didn't get off the street by the mercy of others. I got off the street because I never gave up and I kept fighting. And I kept doing a lot of things I didn't want to do. And a big part of it was because I was a fan of Joyce Myers and Joel Osteen and other televangelists that preached the shit that's bull. Okay, when you apply it to your life, you'll find out that what ends up happening is you get your ass kicked and you end up in the middle of nowhere where you're unfamiliar territory, and everywhere you go it seems like you're in everybody's way. And if you're lucky like me, you might get some seaweed, muddy water. But overall, beautiful scenery. Check it out. I actually love it very much. It's absolutely beautiful. So I do love being in Ohio overall. I realize that I love the state of Ohio for what it means to me, and I love Dayton for what it means to me. However, in my opinion, it was never really truly designed for people in poverty. And therefore, depending on your circumstances, if they're not more favorable, it can be quite complicated. We'll talk about that in the time to come, okay? But right now, I wanted to make this very clear in the start of the Huber Heights series is a refresher. I didn't want to be in Dayton, Ohio because the way things happened in 2009. And I was always a firm believer, if it doesn't work out the first time, it's never going to work out, okay? So imagine how humbling it was when I was sitting beside a social worker from Lebanon County, my home city, right down the road from where I used to live by about maybe 3.5 miles. Right down the hill from where my school was by about 1/4 mile, my high school. All right, now you see where I'm at. And by the way, I'm sitting beside her, and she tells me you know, if you go to Ohio, we can't help you. Now, why is that? Why couldn't she help me? Because I was making a choice on my own out of the best of what I could do? I couldn't live with anybody else in my hometown. You don't realize until you do become homeless and you don't have anything, how mean people are. The people you loved, the people you went to visit all the time, the people you would do anything for. They give you a call, you'll be there. Try it out. Test the people before. Let me ask you something. Why wouldn't you want to test people and find out now, today, if they really love you or not? Pretend you're losing everything and you're going to be homeless and that you're flat broke, you have no money. See how the people love you then. See, you might have to do it a long duration. Give it like 6 months to a year. I'd say between 8 months and a year and a half, you could definitely figure it out. In other words, screw you. They might have an attic. They might have a basement. They might have a garage and a hayloft, a barn. They don't want you there because they don't want no charity cases there. It's a humbling and a horrific place to be all at once because when you're Tracilyn, you want to live and be free and have fun. And the whole world is kicking your ass. And a big part of that is because you were not educated right. They didn't teach you of the importance of personal identity. They didn't teach you about the reality of sexuality. The law of attraction, the importance of formulating your own personality and who you desire to be. We're going to have to leave here. I'm pissed because it's noisy and I want to freaking talk in a quiet place. So now I have to go. Okay, I think I found a spot, at least for now. Ever since I came out here to Ohio, all I wanted to do is, number one, get a means to be able to take care of myself. Can I get a job? No, I can't. I can't get work. So I can't take care of myself. Because how do you take care of yourself in America? With money. I don't have a place to stay that's consistent, that if I don't stay in their idea of life, I'm kicked out. Imagine living like that. If you're living like that now, I'm sorry. It's a painful place to be. Especially when you're sitting beside somebody that you know has the ability to alter your destiny by just being kind. You have something to offer in exchange for money. We talked about all the serious subjects, about adult entertainment, and how the police will purposely set you up, and if they want to, frame you for something that is not true. This makes it very difficult for somebody who wants to make things right in their life, who wants the opportunity while they're still young and can, to enjoy life. That's what it's about. Go to work a portion of the day and enjoy your life the remainder. The whole reasoning to go to work is that you can make a life for yourself after, right or wrong. Okay, so I'm going to try to speed through this quick, calm down a little bit. This isn't the location I wanted to come. This is where I shot Washing Me Clean and the White Wedding video by the water. I love the Ohio parks when they're quiet. You can come to think, or if I want to work on my music projects, mainly because I'm on a tight budget, extremely tight, I can only have limited means to be able to do what I'd really like to do. I use a lot of low-end equipment. I do the very best I can to work it out. And you know why that is? Because of the selfishness in humanity. very judgmental, because they weren't educated right, I wasn't educated right, no one was educated right. We didn't even know that your thoughts is what manifests some kind of life for yourself. We have to break it down psychologically to refigure everything out. So 12 years of schooling, does it lead you into that you can be able to take care of yourself? In most situations, you do have to become educated in college or special training for a skill that you can be a servant to somebody else. And if you are not at their expectations at any given time, you can be fired. So imagine the pressure of living like that. Imagine the pressure of that when you're on your own with it, and everybody is making these ridiculous standards, their idea of life. You can't match up to it because it's not your personality. You're going to people in need, and people don't like needy people, because that usually entails that they're going to have to what? If you approach somebody needy, then they have to go above and beyond by helping you to get your needs met. And most people that I've encountered do not want to do that, or they can't do that. They got their own issues going on in their life. Yet I still strive to be kind, live in the fruits of the Spirit to the best of my ability. I share my life story because it's what I'm driven to do. I can't do anything else. Music is my passion. We're going to get into that in the time to come. Right now we're going to back up here to Huber Heights. I'm going to try to calm down. When I went over to Huber Heights, I did not want to move into the house. At that point, I wanted to be able to have the means and the freedom to put my life together accordingly and appropriately with my way of thinking. And then I would hopefully not be entering into relationships being a needy person. I would enter into relationships because we have compatibility. Compatibility is very, very crucial, and it's very important. When you're a very attractive person or spirit, or whatever the means are for yourself, you will find out that the world around you basically wants to use you, as what I say, okay, physical encounters, maybe sex, intimacy, and that's about it. After a while, years of it, you get very, very tired and worn out, and then you start to put up a wall that says, no more. If we don't have compatibility, I am not interested in hanging out with you. No more just sex. In fact, with me, if you're getting this message, no, I don't want to have sex with you. I am sick of having sex. I want to actually do something outside of that. And everywhere I went, that seemed to be all that anybody wants from me. That's all I have to offer. I know I have a lot more than that to offer others. That's why I'm sharing this video for you today. I didn't want to leave Catherine's. However, the person who was assisting me in the financial department, the needs department, okay, because I did not know how else to get my means met, mentioned that if I come and stay with him, he'll be able to help me. So without knowing what to do, after going to countless therapy, psychologists, mental institutions, not registering here to go down to the local county office and file for public assistance, I never thought to do that. Okay, I didn't know the first thing about doing that. They didn't teach me that in school. When you fall on hard times, this is what is preferred, the means that you go to. They should be educating the children in school that if you ever fall on hard times, this is what we would appreciate you doing. And that way you can have the means to be able to take care of yourself. You can't just have a roof over your head and not be able to have access to either A, going to school, or B, going to your medical appointments, or being able to feed yourself. Now you get stuck in the realms of, if somebody's taking care of you, you kind of got to be an extension of who they are, eat the food that's provided to you, stay in the home that they provide for you, live by their standard, their idea of life. Very stressful, very complicated if two parties don't come together knowing themselves first, and then writing things out is what I've realized is probably the best. Circling what each other has in common, what the responsibilities are of the house and the property and stuff like that, what's expected of you, what's expected of them in exchange. If there's not intelligent conversation leading to an understanding of what needs to be fulfilled in that relationship, it will lead into move. I've heard that a lot living with other people. It's not because I'm difficult, it's because I have my idea of life. I'm pretty firm with it. We got a golf cart. I'm gonna try. It's harder for me to talk when there's noise going on. Okay, I decided to come home. I tried 2 places, and each time that I went to a park, they're in the process of mowing grass, they're in the process of cleaning it up. It's quite noisy. We got the air conditioner on right now, so I apologize. I was hoping to be outside and enjoying the beautiful day. Very frustrating because this is not how I wanted to invest my life. When I came out here, it was because I was desperate. I needed a safe place that I could be. I don't have to have sex with anybody. I needed to get my needs met. I did not know how to get my personal needs met. So I don't have to be a submissive into the ideas of other people directly. You do not want to be trapped in a relationship, or maybe you already are, where somebody has control of every area of your life, and if you don't submit, you're out the door. It's a horrible place to be. I had to live like that for years because I went to a psychologist and I explained the details of what I was going through, and never once, not one time, was it ever mentioned to me, out of all the churches I reached out to, all the homeless shelters I reached out to, everything I reached out to, it was that I was basically asking for help that I'm not worthy of in the world's eyes. That's how I ended up where I am now, in a little apartment, not by choice, out of desperation. I will take it because I need somewhere to be where I can be safe, collect my thoughts, preferably heal and get on with my life. Part of what I'm doing right now is cleansing my soul, cleansing my spirit, cleansing the thoughts in my mind. I want to function properly again and live a good life. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And I wouldn't have been in so much pain and agony if somehow, some way, I would have been educated properly on identity, which starts with the thought process in the mind, sexuality, law of attraction, and how your personality comes together, what you generally want to invest the rest of your life in doing. Some people call it work, other people call it life. What are you most passionate about? Because what you will realize is your life will be consumed with it. So you want to be on the right track for you. Not the idea and standard of society, not the ideas of anyone else. Believe it or not, I'm convinced that when you find out who you are, then what you love to do, the things in life in general. You put your life together, now you look for compatibility instead of reaching out to people all the time because you need. Well, guess what? I am a victim of somebody who kept reaching out because I didn't know where to go. I tried to talk to hospitals. I tried to talk to psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists. All of this because I wasn't educated in how to handle circumstances when I do fall on my butt. I was living with Catherine, and I was pretty content with that, but we were both in the air of how we could manage to keep life going. We both knew that money plays a big part, getting your needs met. I was not aware about going down to the local county office and trying to get some kind of public assistance. Seems easy once you know what to do. Unfortunately, you may need an attorney, one that is not judgmental of the fact that you are a transsexual female. I didn't want to leave Catherine's, but in order to survive and the person who was going to help me, it was best that I went over to his house to stay. That's the house that Huber Heights that I had mentioned. I had mentioned that when I first saw it, it was around the holiday season. There was Christmas lights lit up around the house. And here's the thing. I like to put my hair back like that. I'm a little upset because, hold on a minute, I have pretty much been indoors for almost 4 years. This is not the location that I originally wanted to live. We're going to talk about that. I was hoping to relocate to a bigger city, mainly because I am a transsexual and I do music. So it would be best for me to live in a bigger city with more opportunities to connect with the LGBT community, people who are transsexual friendly, as well as other opportunities for me to use my talents and live life with the things that I'm passionate about. Just living in an apartment can be all kinds of things. You need an environment in its entirety where you can actually enjoy your passions in life. That alone is therapeutic. And what I've realized is you got to know yourself, the details, and be honest. So that way, when you connect with somebody else, in my situation, I wanted to date men, preferably someone special. And I can be patient with that. But you want compatible interest, especially your dominancy. For me, it's music. So I would need to be with somebody who really appreciates not only me, but appreciates my music because it's what I do all the time. And also, I like to speak, and I like to share pictures of myself online. Eventually, I moved into Huber Heights, and I had the front bedroom that I showed. Now I have a long list, 8 pages of things to talk about, and I was really looking forward to being outside to do this, but we're back indoors again because it's very, very noisy outside. Sorry if I seem stressed out. Whenever I want to do something, it seems that I no longer can do things the way I want to do it. So I have to alter everything. And it brings me down and it makes me very angry. Short-fused is what I am. Has anyone ever called you short-fused? That's me. A flitch goes off in my mind. I don't know what else to do. I'm stressed out. I know there's things I want to do, but I'm in a very tight situation, so I have this much freedom to be able to fulfill my own heart's desires. We're going to get into that in a bit. Once we moved in, I got to meet the owners, so this was a second owner house. I got to meet the original owners. They showed me the landscaping, Now, forgive me for appearing to be very stressed. It's the way my life has been for years. I want to do stuff my way, and I have to keep altering everything that I do because of many circumstances. Detailed circumstances. One thing that you gotta know is detailed circumstances is what matters the most. But a lot of people won't teach you that. It is the details. I'll tell you that. So now, I'm gonna go down through my list really quick. My desire at that time was to stay focused on my desires. So to a lot of other people, it seemed that I was being very difficult. And I gotta be honest, it is difficult when somebody has at least a glimpse of who they are and the things that they desire to do with their life, and they know their self at least a little bit in their head. They want their own identity. They want to put themselves together their way. Unfortunately, for a lot of reasons, it does not come easy for some people that are not intelligent to all of this. I'm only learning now at 45 all of the importance that it is. I was trusting this imaginary God that was formed in my mind by listening to televangelists on television speaking about this great God that I was falling in love with, and I learned it's a Santa Claus. The real God functions much differently, at least for me, and it might be for you. So hopefully there's something in this that is beneficial. Okay, I'm trying. When I arrived at the house, because it was in the process of somebody who was getting divorced, and they were relocating into the house, there was a lot of responsibilities on their end to fulfill, which was getting the house and the property in order while they're running their own life. Therefore, I really do fit in pretty good with being a personal assistant if we can communicate it and we know each other's needs, and a portion of the day is to fulfill my obligations to stay somewhere and receive the help that I need, while I can also somehow focus on the other areas of my life. Unfortunately, everything I wanted to do did not work out. Can I tell you that? It's working out the way it's working out, but it did not work out the way that I was hoping to at this point. I was self-employed for 7.5 years, as I described, and after 7.5 years of not achieving the direction that I was looking forward to going to, and what I've come to realize and we'll talk about in the future, I already knew I don't want to do the same things I once did that I was not satisfied with. And I wanted to get through my transition. I never fulfilled my desire to fulfill my transition to the state. And it has been painful, but I learned to put my focus somewhere else, and I kind of neglect that part of my life because realistically, it's all about money and connections with who you know. I don't know anybody, okay? I'm only starting to get to know people now at this point. With that being said, while I lived at this house, I did have a lot of emotional support when it came to my music, writing songs. I continued to keep writing songs through a lot of pain while at this house. I was also trying to get involved at the church. So there were times that I explained that I would sing at the church. I even got involved with somebody who sang harmony with me. I also got to meet Paul David Bach in a local area here in Dayton, Ohio, who, to my surprise, was very kind to me, and so was all of his friends, or so were all of his friends. They were very kind to me, and I appreciate that. If you come across this video, thank you for being there and being supportive. With that being said, I did not clearly know that I was seeking out to be a recording artist, which is a whole nother master way of going about life than if you're just a songwriter. Not just, but if you're a songwriter and you want to get involved at the church, but you don't really have a direction. You don't know what to do. You don't know as far as to what school to attend, what classes to attend. I was thinking of doing electrolysis because I'm thinking of a profession. I really didn't want to be self-employed all over again because I knew the difficulties of taking on all of that responsibilities oneself. Okay? It's nice to work together as a family or a team in partnership, but when you got to take on all the responsibilities, it can be very, very trying. Okay? And I already knew that for some reason, just like when I was in the music business, whenever you reach out, people do not want to assist. Okay? We'll talk about that. So with that being said, I didn't come out to Ohio to get back into doing what I was doing musically years ago. I wanted to take a new approach. Meanwhile, I'm writing songs because that's where my heart is. Because I realized the importance of connecting with other people who were also songwriters and also passionate about music. I really wanted to relocate down to Nashville, Tennessee, because I wanted to be the very best songwriter. And I figured that it would give me the opportunity. I don't like to necessarily go to open mic nights or karaoke so much at this time. I really want to connect with other people who are songwriters specifically, and going to family-friendly events to sing songs that I wrote and to hear other people's songs that they wrote. It was a wonderful feeling, and I did get the opportunity to go down to Nashville and connect with people there, and some of you are still connected on my Facebook page, and thank you for staying in touch. I like to see updates of people that I had my eye on when I was down there, and I listened to their music, and I really, really appreciated crossing paths because they were kind to me. And at this time, I am traumatized because just me accepting myself separated me from everyone that I once knew. Okay? I'm trying to learn about transsexualism. Meanwhile, I can't really educate other people who don't want to receive the information I'm learning as acceptable. Meaning, to them, because the lack of education through the schooling system about this specific topic, they pretty much didn't want anything to do with me. And if they did, it was more of a secrecy because of the pressure of their friends, who, you know, make it harder for other people to accept you. Okay, this is very, very painful. Things like this had me bedridden the whole time that I was at this house. It was horrible. I didn't know what to do. The only thing I could do was be an assistant to the house and the chores and stuff. And what ended up happening is I started to realize my whole personal identity was being formed in doing the fact that I couldn't necessarily reach out and do all the things I wanted to do, but I could do the songwriting. Meanwhile, stick to the house chores and anything that I could do to be of help, whether it was run for some groceries, mow the grass, pick up sticks, all kinds of things like that. I was really looking into where I'm at now, getting into a home that I want to live in, and getting focused on figuring things out and planning for my transition to completion, and also continuing on with my songs. So, here we go. My dominant focus was to stay focused on my personal desires, but I didn't know how to do that. So I invested a great deal of time watching televangelists, preachers, public speakers on YouTube. I had a hard time putting myself back out on the internet because not only did I do music as a business for 7.5 years, and it was basically center focused on myself as a entertainer with my music. It was center focused on myself, okay, in a lot of areas that were totally out of alignment. I didn't know my true self, for instance. With that being said, I was in a lot of great deal mental and emotional pain, not knowing how to straighten things out. Let's see. Okay, so during this time, the person that I was living with had a tendency to share everything that I was sharing with them about my life story, the challenges and the trials I had through family separation, friend separation, being on the road as an escort, whether it was harassment with policemen or any kind of, the prostitution charges, and all of this stuff was just coming out into articles that they were writing for their prison ministry, to the other people in the LGBT community, especially in the trans. This at first kind of bothered me a little bit, but I learned to work through it and accept it because of the fact that I was pretty comfortable with who I am and my circumstances. I guess that sometimes when we're going through hard times, we just don't want other people to know about those hard times. We want them to see us in another light. So now I'm sharing my whole entire life story again, knowing that it's beneficial to me to heal, as well as I know it's going to help other people as well. There's something in there for you who is watching this. One of the things that I encountered, there's two situations. One, I went out with this person to a restaurant one time, and I got to meet this genetic girl, okay? Born at birth, declared to be a girl. We were talking. She ended up pulling me into a separate room within this facility that we were at, an establishment. And she told me that it was very important that I knew that the person that I was living with actually told her that I was crazy. So he had a tendency to telling other people basically I had a mental problem and that I was crazy in the head. What a way to meet people. Them already having in their head, somebody told them, and now it's in their head when they look at you, you're a crazy person. Maybe in some caliber I am to other people, but I'm not so crazy. I'm just under a great deal of mental stress. Another one is when I went out one time to Club Mask to perform with my guitar. I remember when I got up on the stage to do it, I felt a little bit different and out of place for whatever reason. It isn't really, I wanted to hopefully do something with a band versus all by myself. So anyway, I did the performance of my song. When I got off the stage and we were talking with the friends that I attended with, I remember feeling like the person that I wanted to appreciate it the most did not. It was kind of like they turned away from me. And it hurt me really bad, emotionally. Now, I was hoping for something different. Maybe a hug and a kiss and wow, you did really great. But instead it was not like that at all. So I was dealing with my own thoughts. I'm not saying this was all right or wrong. I'm saying that this is where I was at mentally. Whenever we went out for girls' night out, a lot of times, it was at an alcohol establishment. With that being said, I went through a long life of where there was alcohol. I was an alcoholic already at childhood. And I described that in my life testimony. I don't want to keep on talking about it, but I had a serious background of alcohol abuse. And the thing is I wanted to get away from that. I don't want to be in establishments that support that. I would rather be doing things in a different kind of environment, especially a family-oriented. So I didn't really know in my mind what that looked like, what it is, I never really had time to digest and figure things out that way, but we were going to establishments that were dominantly with alcohol, and I really wanted to get away from that. However, I still wanted to connect and be with other girls in the community. Okay? So the meeting places were usually alcoholic beverages, dominancy as far as to what they serve and stuff. So I went. Not every time, especially near the end of me staying there, I started to withdraw more and more, not because of the girls or because of the people, but because I just simply didn't want to be around the alcohol anymore. I wanted it out of my life. Okay? I really want to get focused on other things at this point. Let's see. This person most certainly understood that I really wanted to do my music. And with that being said, they had reached out to various people who were making offerings to assist me and to help me. And the truth of the matter is, I kept, foolishly, this is on my behalf, foolishly, I kept relating back to when I worked with a gentleman by the name of Andrew C. Strauss on a promo project. And I really liked the way that we worked together in making this a reality. With that being said, I was kind of looking for a really talented, very creative producer that we could invest a great deal of time with to record a whole album to completion. And then I was hoping to do something with my music. It was not clear to me at that time what it was, but I wanted to do something with my music. I also met a gentleman by the name that everyone knows around here by the name of Paul David Bach. Now, this was in 2010. He invited me to a recording studio. Now, how I met him was by going to an NSAI group. With the NSAI group, a really nice gentleman had invited me over to a bar where Paul was playing at. He was known to play on a regular, I think it was Tuesday, and introduced me, and Paul was very, very kind, gave me the opportunity to play, and I got to meet with him at his place. We played some songs. He got to play along with me, and let me tell you, it was life-changing for me. I really, really valued that. He used to play the mandolin, sometimes a guitar with it, along with me, and I got to hear a lot of his songs. And this was very therapeutic for me. So if he hears this message, know that I am extremely grateful for our time together. And I miss you, and I wish you were still in my life. He had mentioned that if I would assist in one of his recordings of a song that I came to really love, and I'm hoping to record again myself with his approval, because I had asked him about this. I got to go to a recording studio. It was the first recording studio I got to go in a long time. Much different setup. It was a very nice setup. A very kind person. The problem was, what I come to learn is I was not ready for that inside my head. I wasn't ready. I didn't find my natural voice. I didn't know about key. There was a lot of things that were going on that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But we made this recording, and it was challenging for me. For this reason, I didn't really know myself like I do now. I wasn't comfortable enough to do it. So I pushed through it. We did it. The recording itself, with all the music and everything, was absolutely gorgeous. But it's not that I had low self-esteem. It's that inside my head, I knew that there was better inside of me that I could deliver. So with that being said, I'm not sure if I shared it on Facebook or not, or online, but I still have the recording. I'm looking forward to sharing it sometime in the near future. After our meeting in the recording studio, the producer and me talked while I was out by my car getting ready to leave, and he had mentioned that he felt very strongly that I have something to share, meaning with the world at large, with the local community, with people. That I should really, really consider recording my music and sharing it. That meant a great deal to me. Now, this is somebody that for a lot of years felt that God was leading me down to Nashville, Tennessee. I got to go to Nashville, Tennessee, and I have quite the stories to share about that. So it was pretty amazing because Paul was very well connected, and so was his producer, with other very, very talented musicians. And this was an exciting part of my life that I witnessed because I really, for years, I've been wanting to play with very serious-minded, fun, kind, talented musicians. Specifically with my music, but I also appreciate listening to them playing other people's music. So, with everything that I've heard over the years, I thought this would be great, to eventually record my music with Nashville studio musicians. I mean, who wouldn't appreciate that? The problem is, I don't have the means. Now, he didn't say that, but I'm just knowing in my head I don't have the means to be able to do that. And it's not clear exactly what it is that I wanted to do. We're getting there over the years. During this time staying over at Huber Heights, I was extremely weak and lost and confused. The person that invited me into the home was most certainly my strength. I would have never made it as long into life as I have if it wasn't for this person. So if they come across this, I hope they understand that this is all therapy to me. I'm not trying to do anything other than share a perspective of what I went through in life in general. This person played a very crucial role in keeping me alive. And I'm forever grateful for that. So understand that. This person, to me, became Daddy. My spiritual daddy. My birth father, when I came out, left a voicemail that I wish I would have kept on my answering machine. Simply said, "I don't know what turnip truck you fell off of." In other words, this is ways of Satan. It's not of God. And I'm here to tell you different. It's all because of Christ that I became who I am. And because of the condition that is within the human race, the thoughts of it, it is perceived as satanic in many minds, but it is not. I can testify that if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be living in my own truth, making things right in my life, and having the love, the grace, and the mercy, and all the wonderful things that Christ stands for. Okay, that's the center core, and everything that I will always give credit for everything I do is me falling in love with Jesus Christ. That's how I came to be this far. That is what really kept me alive through it all. And with this person, my daddy, I knew that he loved God very, very much. And it was the side of him that I most certainly fell in love, a godly man. He was Italian and also a military person, retired. And to me, that was the kind of man that I wanted to be with, the kind of person I wanted to share my life with. However, there seemed to be moments that it was almost a complete opposite personality. That's what I would relate to a sinful nature, the nature of a human, versus the actual spirit and wholesomeness of Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit within humanity. Love. So his unconditional love for me in many areas is what kept our relationship close together, is me acknowledging that. It was me not knowing myself and not knowing the details like I've come to know that made things even more difficult. And I can imagine for him, for everybody that got to meet me, It was very challenging. And I'm sorry to him. I'm sorry to everybody that lived in that house that did not really get to see Tracilyn, who is now coming together. Okay? Everyone that came to that house, I realized that there was a Christ in them, love, that I really, really appreciated. However, it did not go without its challenges, and that's why I'm talking about this today. So we're talking about how I've been trying to explore my music. That's what we're going to stay on. While I continued to write songs, and I would play, I was thinking about maybe putting together a 50s band. So that way, because I love the 50s very, very much. The music, the era, the godly values. There's a lot of the 50s the decade of the 50s that I love and always have and will always appreciate. And I try to, that same spirit that I acknowledged through the 50s, I try to let live through me and through my music. It's where my happiness is, you know. When I first slept over there, we had a situation where I was sleeping because I wanted to be close, and I got smacked in the face pretty hard. Smacked in the nose. And after that situation, I realized I have to be in my own room because that kind of scared me, you know, not knowing if I was going to be smacked or not in my sleep. One of the things was because of this person being a military person, I didn't know if he was having backlashes of things that he witnessed and been through in his life. And therefore, I had to have some kind of boundaries and separation with that. And I really pushed to have, you know, my room, a bedroom that was out front of the house like I showed you, right out above the porch. I used to sit on my bed a lot and stare out the window, especially because he was very busy, so he would go and do the things that he needed to accomplish. I would sit at that window and I would cry and cry and cry because I didn't know what else to do but write songs. I didn't know how to get my life together. I didn't know exactly, am I going to go to school to learn, take classes to be an electrolysis, maybe get an office setting in the house. I loved the house, but in my mind, there were things that I really wanted to do with my life. And that's where relocating to Nashville, for instance, was something that was really on my mind, but I didn't know how to make it a possibility. How can I relocate? I don't have money. Could I be a personal assistant? Now, when I was living with Catherine, I was mentally in the set that I wanted to move to Hollywood because I wanted to be in nice weather. I love the beaches, the ocean. I explored this when I was an escort, and I got to travel, and I got to give myself that gift of a Saturday or a Sunday, relaxing in the sun, being on the beach, talking to other people, not having, you know, trying to wipe away any cares that I have and just live life for the day. You know, I really valued and appreciated the beach very much. With my mindset, when I first came out here, understand, the gray skies, snow, cold weather, the wind, you know, I couldn't get it out of my head that this was a focus of things that I don't value and don't appreciate. I want to be where the sky is blue all the time, the sun is shining, you know, there's beaches to go to, places to hang out with people outside. I'm an outdoorsy kind of person. While I'm still working on my music, I wanted to get a band together or something and started to think along the lines when things weren't necessarily working out at the church. I didn't have a clear vision. This was not my fault. It's just that there was no real clear vision as to what I want to do with my life. So I continue to write. I continue to sit in my room and cry, talk to God, pray. I'm always thinking of leaving. Okay, I am so sorry that I was stuck like that. All I could think about was leaving. Have you ever felt like that? You don't want to be where you are, There's no real reason why you don't want to be where you are, but you're finding every reason, every excuse that you can come up with so you could just get out. You want to just do something with yourself. And you want the conditions to be favorable through the law of attraction to what you like. An expression of your inner personality. Well, I got lost in this. Can I tell you? Big mistake. I got totally lost with this. Meanwhile, there is a church across the street. I really love church. I love to worship with others. I love the Spirit of Christ. I love somebody who can speak and is on fire and passionate about God and teachings. It gets my spirit up. It gets me excited about life, and it makes me want to be a better person. Okay? When I hear teachings, I really, really do want to be a much better person. And it's nice to come into agreement with somebody who's, speaking very confidently with fire inside of them. Okay? It lifts up my spirit. Now, with that church, I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on this, but from what I remember, one of the girls that had stayed in our house had mentioned about going over there, and it didn't seem too trans-friendly. I'm not saying they're like that, okay? Please don't take that as an absolute. That's just what was kind of mentioned. But we're all at different places. In all honesty, I can say it, and maybe they were feeling like it. There's a lot of insecurities because of your circumstances are ending up. You're in a strange environment in somebody's home. They're helping you out. It's a different way of life than what you grew accustomed to. Okay? This was not something that, like I said, that I went into full force really, really wanting. Okay? This was, I didn't know what else to do. For whatever reason, I had left Ohio the first time, and I'm the kind of person that if it didn't work out the first time, what are the odds that it's going to work out another time? I'm convinced that it could have worked out a lot differently if I would have been more in tune with the thoughts that are now going through my head. Okay? I didn't realize that the home ministry that I really desired was already taking shape in the household. This gentleman had done everything to see that Tracilyn was not alone by inviting other trans women into the home. I remember I made it kind of clear without anybody getting offended about this. I was adamant about it being women because of this reason is that's where my heart felt to minister to is transsexual females specifically. For some reason, my mind was center key point on that, and it was probably because of all my pain and the things that I was experiencing prior to all of this. So I wanted to minister to others that I identified in this area of life that were a little bit maybe more understanding. And when you're living life as a full-time transsexual female, as a female, and you were taught to be a man, if you will, a boy, it has its circumstances and challenges that maybe others do face, but they're uniquely different. Okay? I face judgment just because I'm a transsexual female. I had people throw the license at me. They lose skin color sometimes because they couldn't believe it. Like they see me as female, and then I would show them my driver's license, and it used to have male on it. And I literally saw people lose their skin color. Like they didn't know how to respond to that because they never witnessed one, I guess, in a relationship before, in an encounter. So that was kind of challenging for me, right? And for them. Let's see. The one thing that was going on within the house was open relationships. Now, can I tell you, I don't want to go into too much detail about open relationships, except for everybody has a different idea of whether or not, like I myself, for instance, would love to be with one person. I really thought it was going to be a man. I knew I wanted to be with somebody who was Italian, had Italian in them. That makes me very happy for some reasons. I feel the first girl that I ever dated had Italian in her. And this started in my childhood through the television that I realized that I am drawn to Italian people. Okay, I'm German, Pennsylvania Dutch, and I have, through the law of attraction, I have an attraction to Italians, whether girl or guy. It's just things that I was exposed to, I guess, through the television. With that being said, if I could produce children, which I'm sure there's ways that it can be done, I would have thought that that would have been cool, is to have, to be mixed, to have a child that's mixed with Italian in them. So, with that being said, also as an escort, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of Italians. And I always felt more me when I was in their presence. Is it a thought, do you think? I don't know. Whenever I was with an Italian and we connected with a sense of humor and stuff, and we could communicate, I was very happy about that. Like a little kid, So it's not that I'm not open to any other relationships, of course, but I really would love to be with somebody who had Italian in them. And I always joked around and said maybe, if they're not Italian, we could always get a little bit of Italian blood and inject it in them, and then they have some Italian in them. What do you think? Do you think somebody out there would want to be with you bad enough that they would do that? So, various people are into open relationships, and what I mean by that is they will have more than one intimate partner. What I realized early on with this specific person is they were okay with being with various people in relationships intimately. This made me kind of standoffish in that department, because originally we were talking about the possibilities of getting married. We were talking about the possibilities of, if anything would ever happen to him, he would leave, the means to be able to survive, finances, if you will, but the means to be able to survive, he would leave, so that way, I could kind of have some kind of security, knowing that I would be very well taken care of, if anything, may it not happen, but would happen to him. So, with that being said, I was dealing mentally with this because although that seemed really nice, I really cared about this person, I did really see him a lot more as my spiritual father. I called him my daddy. And, because of this one reason, I wanted to be with someone that would show me specifically certain aspects of the way that I was brought up as one person in a relationship, meaning that I would give intimacy to be faithful to be loyal to. I don't want to be with a lot of people. When I was an escort, it gave me an opportunity to explore. I'm very thankful that I did. I met a lot of nice people, and I'm very grateful for everyone who has helped me out, because it was through a very challenging time and personal exploration. Without all those relationships, I would have not, A, been able to survive, and B, I wouldn't have learned so much about me in the process of it. A lot of intelligence. Got a lot of amazing conversation that was very beneficial. So if you come across this, please don't be disgusted. I am very thankful. I will not say any names. Okay? It's my work. So I was okay, and I mentioned that when I was in New York, I partook into my first orgy. And with that being said, I showed the man that was at the time of my dreams from New York that he didn't want to share me with anyone. And if I was with somebody today and they really loved me, I know that if they wanted me to be that fantasy girl and be with multiple people in the presence of them, I would show them it's not what you want. You want me all to yourself. That's right. When it's something that's inside of you, and it's something that's true to who you are and the kind of person you want to be, I think when you hold firm in that, you can really show people much different. Something they think they want versus something they really want. I had a wonderful experience showing my New York boyfriend, and that felt really good to me when he pulled me and he asked me, he said, let's just leave, That was one of the most memorable experiences in my life, because that's what I wanted. Somebody who did not want to share me with anybody. I want to be with one person. I'm learning that it's okay if that person wants to be with variety for a lot of different reasons. And that's kind of challenging for me to accept, but I understand the nature and the needs of others. And we're all at different places. Maybe someday we'll talk about relationships, but on my perspective on them and how I would like to live my life. But I knew I wanted to be with somebody very special who wanted me all to their self. Not solely, but intimately, most certainly. I would be very content and happy being with someone special. And I know this seems weird to a lot of people in relationships out there, and they may have heard this before, but as long as we got the compatibility part right and everything, I would not ever want to be with somebody else other than that person. I know that's the kind of person I am and I want to be. I can do that by evaluating my past relationships. I made some mistakes myself that I went against my own heart's desires. A lot of time it was out of anger or the relationships coming to an end. I wouldn't want to handle it that way anymore. I'd really rather just be strong and be with somebody who wants to be committed and work through that. So, Tracilyn understands needs. So, the idea of ministering to others that are hurt and wounded, was different. And I don't want to go into talking about that from my perspective on their side, but I just want to hold off on this, as especially when ministering to women. I personally would have to say that it's best that you leave sex out of it. At least till that person comes into a healing. I would say that it's best to leave that out of it until a person is fully healed, and then they can move forward into the intimacy department. Because often too many times we're not clear in our thought process, and it can lead to more and more pain than we desire. House needs. So, with that being said, there were house needs and property needs: mowing grass, picking up sticks, raking the leaves. Anybody who was on my Facebook might have heard me complaining about raking up the leaves, shoveling snow. I am so sorry today. I am very sorry that I ever complained about doing any of those. It's very little petty stuff. Obviously, the property is not that big. So there were times that I'd be walking outside picking up sticks, and because my mind was all messed up and I had a bad attitude that day, I'd be tripping, and I almost had a stick. When I tripped and fell, I almost went into my face. And if you would have been there, you would have been laughing really hard. But at that time, it was not funny to me. And I realized that there was things that I'll do with my hands and things that I prefer to do, which was more indoorsy stuff, sweeping, washing the floors, taking care of the dishes, straightening up the house, dusting, indoor chores was more me. I didn't really care for all the yard work of any kind. Especially when this person I had mentioned got into using power tools and stuff like that. I do not like using power tools. And because of that, I don't like to argue about it. I'm being honest about it. I don't like that to be a problem when I share that with somebody and they keep on pushing, or they try to, maybe not on purpose, but their words end up inflicting more of a pain and disappointment in me, because I'm thinking I wish I would. Should I do that, or should I do it, or why can't I want to do it? So there's a lot of mind thought twisting in this. That's why I'd rather be able to talk about my honesty with who I'm with, about my likes and even my dislikes. How deep do we got to go into this? I'm realizing that once I get healed, I can stay on the surface with people, which is much nicer to do than to go into all the depths of everything all the time. This person is very active, very busy, always doing something, always on a mission. I really like that. So there was a lot of time that I would have the house to myself. I could play my guitar, sing, or what have you. And there were moments of other people moving in, moving out. A lot of times they were coming in what I consider to be more of a pre-programmed, meaning they already had an idea of, because of what he had mentioned to them, they already formed their idea of who Tracilyn is, which is a crazy person and basically a mental basket case. Difficult, if you will. So if somebody's already been told all these things and they walk into the house, they already formed their opinion on you and the way that they're going to treat you, the way they're going to down talk you, make fun of you. All of a sudden, you have no say in much of anything. They think they know who you are, but they only know aspects of who you are. They don't know all the details. They only know what they've been told. And they're dealing with their things. I'm dealing with my things. I do not know what to do exactly as I'm continuing on. So I had mentioned about that. A lot of the people that already came into the house to live there, it appeared to me that a lot of people really looked down on me. And this didn't make me mad. It hurt really bad, because I realized in life years before, people didn't seem to look down on me that much. Maybe through my childhood and stuff, but there was a season of time that people actually admired and they looked up to me when I'd be talking and stuff. They were inspired by a lot of the things that I would talk. I used to have people, like 30-some voicemails on my answering machine, people calling me for advice, people just calling to speak with me because they need somebody who would comfort them in what they're going through. I invested a lot of time with children. So this was uniquely different, where everybody else is kind of perceiving me in a very negative aspect. It hurt me, not so much as made me mad. Okay? What I realized is, let's see, we talked about the songwriters when talked self about God, desires people came quickly. I noticed in this house, I did a lot of praying, a lot of talking to God. When I would be in the house, I would step outside sometimes at nighttime and look up to the sky. It was my norm, what I used to do back in Pennsylvania. I would look up to the sky and talk to God about all of my woes, things that I'm going through. I really wanted to connect with other transgendered women specifically, and there were people coming into the house almost as soon as I prayed. There were people that were coming, okay? A lot of them were going through their own trials, and they had their reasoning why they needed a place to stay as well. And rather than be a friendly and companion sisterhood, I was dealing with my own personal pains and agony, and not knowing. I knew I wanted to get my life straightened out in a manner. It wasn't clear to me what to do. And therefore, I never really mastered the art of relationships. It always seemed that I have to change things about myself in order to be approved, versus just being Tracilyn and being respected for that. So that was my own battle, my own challenges mentally with things that I was going through. I remember praying, and I really wanted a child in my life. If my son hears this, I haven't seen him since he's 8 months old. I want a relationship with you if you'll give me a chance. I'm not as much of a basket case as it may appear that I am. I'm a free spirit. And I had mentioned about the only other kid that I was not allowed to see be born was my niece. Well, this caused a lot of pain because I wanted to be in her life and see her grow up and attend like school and kind of be like a cheerleader to see her, go through life and fulfill her desires. I wanted to be in a child's life pretty regularly. With that being said, somebody came into the house, child. And it was absolutely amazing how quickly this happened when I prayed. Unfortunately, she was dealing with her own things I don't want to talk about. She was dealing with her own things. Eventually, she had moved, and I found out that, if I'm not mistaken, she committed suicide. That hurt. I'm really sorry to hear that. A lot of us that were gathering at this house were really on the edge of just life circumstances. Let me get some water. My voice is raspy. Now, many times, there was a battle going on between me and the owner of the property that I wanted certain things to function a certain way, and whenever I would complain about what was happening, because I felt like I was kind of ending up at times being the one that took over the majority of the chores, if I would have a complaint or anything, rather than be able to communicate it, I wasn't very good at communicating this very well. And there were many times that basically, if I don't like it, move. That was his trigger code of, if you don't like it, move. Well, guess what? When that's over your head, you would like to move somewhere safe, where you could not ever hear those words again, because you're not delivering what that person expects out of you, or whenever you're being a voice for what you believe in, whatever you're going through. That was exactly what I heard. If you don't like it, move. And there were plenty of times that I got asked to leave, and I had to pack up in a very brief time. And of course, I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to get my needs met, so I would return back to escorting again. This is not what I wanted to do, so every time I left Ohio, I would be in a great deal of pain. Because I know that I want to be somewhere. I feel led into ministerial work. I already know I can't live in a worldly self anymore. I can't do life the way that I've been brainwashed by just the general public in general to be. I can't do life like that. It's destroying me. I don't know where to turn, who to turn to. I can't get work. Escorting. And every time I left here, I would cry my eyes out. And then I would have to be strong and continue on, knowing everything that I did. There's a life for me in Ohio. I seen the elements of things that I really wanted: church community, being involved, a house with other transsexual females. I was writing songs about my life, you know. There was life there, and then I have to drop everything again, and then I go back and live on the road, and now we're stuck in survival mode. So it's almost like you have to numb yourself and just pursue to move forth. And what's going to happen, I don't know, but I need to make money today because I need a hotel room. I don't want to sleep on the street. I don't want to sleep in my car. I don't want to be homeless. I really want to get planted somewhere that I want to live. I'm looking to settle down by this time. I want to settle down somewhere I want to live. And the two things that were on my mind at that time was Hollywood and Nashville. Okay, those were the two big cities that I was thinking about. Unfortunately, whenever I went, because I was escorting, whenever I would go to Tennessee or I'd go to California, I didn't make out very well, so I ended up having to come back to the East Coast. I'm learning the possibilities of what was happening to me when I was living on the road as an escort. People having the means to block my phone number, and I couldn't get the incoming calls. I don't know if that would be true or not, but obviously I've been sharing about being electronically harassed. I know without a shadow of doubt it might have happened earlier in life, but it was at least starting when I was an escort, meaning I was being monitored very, very, very closely. And I was being harassed more than I'd come to realize, my privacy being invaded, etc. And I will touch base with that once I get into living here at the apartment. At one time, I woke up, living in the front room. I woke up, and one of the girls that I really want a relationship with, she was just on my Facebook page. She's living in Canada right now. We communicated online on Facebook. I was so happy because I wanted to share with her about where I am now and that I love her. I loved her then. I wasn't right mentally, so our relationship had a lot of great moments. We used to share time, in-depth talking. I knew where her heart was, her passion, the same way. A lot of the girls that came there, same thing, similar. They wanted to be able to form a community where it could be for transsexual females to live, and we could be self-supportive, being able to take care of ourselves, feed ourselves, etc., and extend an arm to continually help the transsexual community. With that being said, with all these in-depth conversations, a lot of similarities going on in the mind, but nothing's really digesting for me yet. So all this is coming out in this household of things that we're already doing, but we're focusing, our focus, at least mine is, my focus is, I don't know where it is, but it's not where it should have been. And I'm really sorry about that today. Not my fault. Nothing I can do about that. It's who I became today, and that house is a big reason why I became the person I am today. And I'm very thankful for that. So this person, you know who you are, and you're in Canada, and somehow we got disconnected on Facebook. I realized Facebook is, somebody has access to my account and actually unfriends some of the people that I obviously want to be connected with. We'll talk about that in a bit. The thing is if that did happen, know this, I want to still have connection with you. I love you. I know about your dreams, your passions. I know similar things that you're going through, and I believe you're a very strong person, and I want to see you live and fulfill every desire in your heart. And I got to be honest, I would like to, and not selfishly, but I would like to be a part of your life and your life success, just by being a friend, just to exercise love into. So I hope you're doing well, and maybe someday we can reconnect again. Maybe even get to see each other face to face. That would mean a lot. But with that being said, one of the people who stayed there, unfortunately, she had HIV. Now, I really have heart for people. And when I first came out here, and I'm going to share with you my experience, and I can't believe that after all I've been through, that I came out okay, healthy, okay? But with that being said, I knew that there was things going on intimately that I most certainly, I didn't, no matter what the circumstances, I didn't want anything to do intimately so much as being like a big sister or a sister, a household friend. I didn't really, at this time in my life, I want to kind of get away from the intimacy part, and be intimate a different way rather than physical. One day I woke up and I went into my bathroom, and I couldn't believe it, but I stepped into a puddle of blood. And that freaked me out because I had no idea what happened. Why was this? I mean, it literally splashed when I stepped. And I came to learn that I don't know, I forget exactly what happened. I don't want to use my mind right now for that. But it was from a person that was infected. And I remember I was upset, not specifically at that person, but over the circumstance. I'm as educated as I'm educated, and with that being said, I'm kind of thinking to myself, what would you be thinking? I'm thinking, why wasn't it cleaned up? What happened to her? Is everything all right? Did I miss something in the middle of the night? Is everybody alive and okay? I didn't like stepping in that at that time, and no matter what the circumstances were. So, with that being said, that ended up into a household argument, and I felt really bad, but I mean, that was what happened to me. And with that being said, obviously, I ended up trying to clean it up the best I could. I didn't know what to use, so I used bleach. That messed up the carpet. This upsets the owner. Evidently, I'm the one who's being a bitch. And the truth of the matter is, I wasn't. I didn't know how to handle the circumstance. I never ended up I was never in a situation like that until then. Okay? I most certainly did not want to offend anybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I tried my hardest to like all the different personalities that were in there, but with people coming and going, there was some partying that was going on in there and stuff, and I wanted to get away from this. I was hoping that the household environment would be a safe environment, a respectful environment, an environment where we could support each other into our becoming, whatever that was. And we could just emotionally support one another. With that being said, I know that I did not have much to say. It was go to your room, go to your room, go to your room. Like a little kid, which I am kind of like a little child. And I did have respect for the owner, like I said, my daddy. I had a great deal of respect. So when I was understand, I'm trying to be level-headed, and I'm trying to explain what happened. And in this situation, I was in the wrong for opening my mouth. Whenever I wanted to open my mouth about a situation, it was button it and go to your room. Now, I don't want to be mistreated like that. When I live somewhere, I gotta have say. Maybe not the final say, but I gotta have say. And I have to know that I'm not going to be kicked out because I have an opinion about something. In that situation there, I got people really mad at me that were living there, and the person that it was. And I'm sorry. I didn't want to upset you. I didn't want to make you mad. It wasn't that I was judging anything. I literally woke up and I went to the bathroom not expecting. I stepped in blood, and in my opinion, why wasn't it cleaned up? Especially by somebody who is infected with something. Okay? Why not have consideration for the other people that live in the house? The only thing I can say about that is in a situation that had happened to me years prior, and I cut myself, or my grandfather did, and there was blood spilled on the floor, we cleaned it up. We cleaned it up for the better interest of the house environment, let alone for the other people that are there as well. With the partying going on and stuff, I do not know what happened. I don't want to ride this, but understand that I was scared. Okay? That's the first time that happened to me. When I didn't have any say in it and I brought it to the owner's attention, his response to me was not satisfactory. And I all of a sudden started to feel really nervous about living in this household. I was scared a lot of times to live in this household because I didn't have any say. I was convinced that I really could, if he would give me the reins, leadership, that I could bring people in with an understanding. And what I've realized is the house needs the respect of other people, and just basically, you know, that with the shared living quarters, how we should be able to have our own privacy in our own room. And when we do the shared living quarters, we got to keep in mind that there's other people living there too, and we really need to maybe go above and beyond what we normally would in order to make it an enjoyable environment for everybody in the household. So that day there, it made me nervous because it did happen, and I tried to express it, and the owner didn't like me talking about that. In other words, just clean it up. So I did the best I could, and I did it with bleach. I didn't know what else to use. Nobody taught me how to use it. I wasn't a nurse or anything. And, I did it to the best of my ability, and then I ruined the carpet. And I'm sorry for that. If I had the money, I would have replaced it. I didn't mean to do that. But this upset him too. So it's like, what do you do? Okay. That was a memorable moment to me that I know evidently some of the other girls, they ended up not liking me so much because of the way that I responded, but put it in to my perspective, waking up and that happening, okay? Now, with that being said, if you're out there and you hear this video, you might be pissed off at me. I'm sorry. I don't want to fight. Actually, I wanted to get the opportunity to know you. And be really good friends. I don't judge a circumstance where people have diseases and stuff at all. As far as to whether or not I'm intimate with somebody is different. But to be friends, that's what I was hoping for. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're all right and healthy. And I hope you have forgiveness in you if you ever come across this video. I will not share any names with that. This girl that I'm talking about from Canada had a puppy dog, and we used to take it to the dog walk, and we would enjoy our time together there. And I remember this one occasion, I got goosebumps all over my body right now, my hair's standing up. Was a very spiritual moment where we got to open up in honesty about life. It was a beautiful night out. The stars were shining. The moon was out. I got to use the restroom quick and change the battery, and then I'll be back on.